Welcome everyone to the App Show. We're a weekly webcast interviewing kind of the most amazing people like Guy Pearson and Steph Hines. And we actually have conversations on cloud accounting. So my name is Will. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm the founder and CEO of Advisorify.com, virtual accounting firm out of South Florida that actually has built software that integrates into Xero. Also joining me is my awesome co-host, Blake Oliver of HBCCPA.com out of Southern California. Or where are you at, San Francisco?
Sunny Southern California, Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, there you go.
Representing UCLA in the house.
And according to my vision here, I think I see Guy Pearson of Practice Ignition and Stephanie Hines of GrowthWise.
Hello, Will.
Thank you guys so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
I can't top that glasses thing, so.
Yeah, this is from the Jason Bloomer front. So I got this when they gave me this awesome mug right here. So at Thrival. So.
Last work, guys.
Well, for those who are joining,
what are we talking about today, buddy?
Yeah. So Blake, why don't you let everybody know really quickly how Blab works, and then we'll dive into the topics today. And that was Blake reporting from Hurricane Los Angeles.
It's really bad weather out here.
So he's very brave out there in the weather and the storms. So so for those who joined us last week, we did a part one series. This is kind of 3 parts of a Blab series with Guy Pearson, who's graciously giving us his time. Also joining us is Stephanie Hines. And this week, we're actually going to talk about the new model of accountants for using cloud software, right? So data flows, payable, ledger, reporting, monthly revenue, monthly cash flow, managing metrics, really. I think we'll probably more hinge on, metrics. I like that concept a lot more than AP, AR kind of conversation. But just in your cloud accounting firm, what metrics should we be focusing in on? So I'll kind of leave it right there. And Guy, I know that you guys are kind of rolling something out in the future, hopefully on metrics in PI. What's kind of going on in the PI world when it comes to metrics?
So, and Steph, I think may have got access to this yesterday or this morning. Has Dane hooked you up yet?
I haven't looked, but I'm so excited.
Okay, so we've got a new dashboard coming out. So inside Practice Ignition, effectively, you haven't heard of what we do. We're a CRM, very light, a contract hub, and we focus on engagement engine that connects the workflow, invoicing, and payments. And if you think about what that enables us to do, we can actually start surfacing up details about your client base. So, what is your monthly recurring revenue? Now, if you're moving to the cloud, it is going to be your holy grail of metrics, just like it is for business-to-business software startups like Practice Ignition or Xero or QBO. And what it means is that MRR is your recurring revenue. That should include things like reselling the software that you use with your clients, but it should also be the guide, in my eyes, for your break-even point. So that everything you do over the top, which is the value-added services and the CFA meetings and projects, should be complete cream, but you've got this really solid base of monthly revenue that's on the rise because it becomes predictable. It lines up your revenue and your expenses, and I just think it's, in my eyes, where the accounting industry needs to focus. And I'm not sure what Steph's thoughts are on it, and I know Will and Blake, you guys run monthly firms and monthly fees as well. But we're sort of using that as the pinnacle, and then we'll get into things like average revenue per client, per group, average revenue per head, probably chargeable and non-chargeable, what your annualized revenue is to date. Thanks for all the likes there, Blake. And then start allowing for things like breakdown into services. So imagine it's really hard right now, and particularly if you're doing time and billing, to understand which clients and what services are the most frequently adopted, what the average price is charged, what the percentage of adoption rate is, and what the total revenue is that brings your firm for a year. Like most people are sort of cutting and pasting Excel spreadsheets or just throwing out a random number like 25% of our clients have X. What we want to give you is the actual measurable data. You don't have to do anything to get it. It'll just come up by using PI. So it's very much the visibility and then the ability to click down and through into how is our firm growing and why, who are our star performers and why, How are we converting clients? How can we improve metrics? And realistically, so number of active clients and MRR and then average revenue per client should probably be the three things that you focus on. Churn is usually and hopefully not a problem. And churn, as a definition, is lost customers. Shouldn't be a problem, but lifetime value should be really a big focus as well. And so when you're talking about SaaS, software as a service businesses, you're talking about lifetime value of a client and how much does it cost to acquire one, and then what are your channels by which you acquire these. So is it website? Is it running meetups and webinars? Is it face-to-face meetings? And if you factor in your time, if you use the old school charger rate just as a benchmark, how much does it cost your firm to bring on one new client? How long do they stay for, and what's the average value they deliver? Now, most people say clients stay forever. Well, I mean, I've only run a firm for 6 years, but I worked for one that was around for 50 years beforehand. And I can tell you that we had a decent number of clients who left us each year, but we always added more. But it's just being clear on that, because you can afford to spend more time and even R&D on trying to help them, which I know Steph does really well over at GrowthWise, where they pick a project on a Friday and pick a client and tear the crap out of how their business works. You can afford to do that and not charge a client for it if it's going to, A, help them stay for longer, but B, provide more value so that they, C, take up more services, and D, have a better outcome in the long run.
Right.
And so that's effectively what we're trying to bring in one screen, which sounds like a lot. And thank you to Dane. It hopefully won't be, because it'll be visually beautiful and nice and easy to anticipate and read.
Yeah.
Well, I am really looking forward to that. And
so Will, I hit it. I just
No, that was a lot. No, that was really good. For anyone who owns a cloud accounting firm, I mean, I only have two numbers on my revenue side on my income statement, right? MRR, monthly recurring revenue, and I have one-time income, and that's it. And the goal really is to have all your MRR cover all your COGS and all your operating expenses, and then everything else, all the one-time, is basically goes straight down to the bottom line. And I think if PI is rolling a feature out like that, I think that's awesome, because not only can you control onboarding and payments and everything, but that you can also see your average MRR per client, which is also huge, to see whether or not you're actually charging enough on a recurring basis, to see what your average is per head over its life. Are you going to do anything special with that besides like just giving an average cost per head, which I think, our average revenue per head or per clients? Are you going to kind of do anything innovative with that particular number? I'm actually kind of curious.
We will. First cut, likely not. But we're trying to get a first cut out that gives everyone value, and then give you the ability to click through.
Right.
What we're then looking to do is go, well, you can click through again or research more and see a trend line on things like this, and then understand which clients contributed to the revenue and things like that. So really intelligent sort of analytics. But the whole goal of having this dashboard is to we've got like an activity feed on the side, but it is to end up giving you insights that you can take actions on. So if you are looking at we have a budget field in there as well with a line. So if you're looking 3 months ahead, and we know what's in your funnel, so we know what engagements have been sent to clients and what your average conversion rate is, we want to help look at the future and go, you're not going to hit your revenue target next month or the month after. Yeah. Now, obviously, we can only go based on what we can see inside the firm.
Right.
And inside the PI. But the idea is that we'll start bringing you suggestions on running things like campaigns or retargeting your client base. So if you have 50% of your clients that have a systems review, and Will, this is probably your clients, Blake, probably yours, and you've got a fee gap, which I hope is what we term as the same here in Australia, where you have a difference between your forecasted budget and what your locked in fees is. We call that a fee gap here in Australia. In my history, we want to go, well, we can help you close that by suggesting a deal run. But this is definitely not V1. But the idea is to really sort of get all the analytics right, get everyone happy with that, and then help you start taking measurable actions and pitching it future forward, so that you can actually do things like deals and build a queue out the door for something like a project that you can do to boost your revenue and boost those numbers.
Stephanie, Steph, what are you doing when it comes to metrics for, like, let's say the MRR and the one time and all that kind of stuff? Like, what do you guys do at your firm at GrowthWise?
So we track MRR, and I'm so excited that Guy's going to do this for me. Yes, it's going to be so good, because it's been a little bit of a manual process for us over the last couple of years. But from a PI perspective, I just love that it's so easy for me to go, well, crap, I'm behind in terms of my revenue target for the year, or sweet, let's have a holiday, I'm going okay. And just that simple one tiny little thing allows me to dial up or dial down when I need to in terms of all of our BD style activities. And it's just there. Like, you don't have to go searching for it. And then every single night when clients go, yep, I'll just accept that proposal, the next day I know I can go to the pub early.
I like that idea.
That is the dream.
I thought that was your marketing, Steph.
Well, don't tell everyone. They might copy.
Sorry.
Now, what about you guys, Blake, at HPC? I mean, how do you guys track the MRR? I mean, all the monthly recurring revenue that you guys have.
Right. So without Practice Ignition, since we're not yet on it, we have figured out a way to do it using Xero items. So, we have this very elaborate recurring invoice scheme in Xero, and we use the items to try and track, what are we selling? How many clients do we have for our bookkeeping, for virtual CFO, tax work, all that sort of thing. But, it's not ideal because it's not connected with our sales, right? So until we actually close a sale, it doesn't get added into our projections for MRR. So we have to do it manually. And that has been the big frustration. So that's in particular why I am looking forward to seeing this, forecasting. What are you calling it, Guy? What's the name for this tool?
Right now, we're just calling it the dashboard.
Taking suggestions, the dashboard.
Yeah. I'll take suggestions. We have a dashboard at the moment. This is like V2, but I'm happy to take, like, if we should call it something, like, now's a great time to get some feedback. But project.
Well, yeah. So currently we have reporting in we use HubSpot CRM.
Yep.
For our CRM, and we use it for the marketing as well. So we have this beautiful reporting dashboard that shows us all of our outstanding service agreements and the value of those and the forecasted amount, but it's not connected with our existing clients. So we have great reporting in Xero, we have great reporting in our CRM, but the two don't add up, and that would be really helpful.
Yeah, so the plan is to try and centralize everything. So if you've got not only current revenue, potential new revenue, but you also have cash flow, so we have payments inside Practice Ignition as well. We can tell you which clients are at risk because they've defaulted payments and things like that. So it's really important to track that because that's a sign of churn warning. Secondly, if someone can't pay you, you as an accountant, it's probably a big red warning sign to actually call them and go, what's going on? And I don't mean from a, like, why haven't you paid us? Like, you clearly have cash flow problems. What can we do to help you? How can we streamline your business? Should we do a project to review your terms? Do you need fee funding? Like, all these other things that can come into play. So that's really key. And then the other things, just in terms of, like, we want to help you understand how PI can help you grow just by using it. So we've got a little widget there that's going to be called, we're calling it Pulse. And it really is going to be things like time to acceptance. So how long on average does it take you to get a client to sign on?
I like that a lot. That's cool.
And obviously we want you to, like, push that number right down. And we're here to help. So Tom, I think, is on the Blab bus room trying to rile me up on the chat screen before. But we've got a customer success team, and their whole goal is to help you get to the lowest possible time and the greatest possible adoption of PI to give you the metrics, efficiency, and also to help you grow. So that's, the whole platform is designed for that. It was taken from, learnings of the firm behind me, chatting with mates like Steph for the last, 5 or 6 years, and talking about how, and Will for a couple of years, about how all this stuff sucked in terms of just trying to manage it all. And, I've only known Blake for, I think, 2 weeks, but we've hit it off and very much in the same mindset around where the future of all this needs to go, and one connected system that allows you to segment and understand your firm, project the future, and understand what changes you need to make is huge. And so we're trying to bring all that under the one hood So it becomes the way to efficiently run this sort of cloud model. And I think the reason that we all need to move to the MRR is, all of our expenses are monthly. Clients want value monthly. Tax is becoming a thing of the past. And as that gets automated, you need to be talking about the now and the future rather than what's happened. A lot of people struggle with that adoption, and that's kind of why the dashboard and the metrics are really, really key to get your head around.
So I have a question for Steph, since she's the Practice Ignition guru and user, and I as a firm that's interested in potentially using it, I'd love to know your story. What were you doing before? When did you make the switch? How did you do it? And do you have any tips for anyone who is going to implement it, like as best practices?
So my number one tip is just do it right now. So I started the hashtag last week, We Love Guy, but he got really upset with me and said I needed to change it to We Love PI. So, all right, granted, we'll do that. We were using quotes in Workflow Max because that's what we were using as our job management thing, which the only reason we were using it is deployment of a job from a quote, but literally no acceptance. Like you had to send something to a client. It was a manual process that at the renewal time, June for us, it would take weeks to renew all of our clients for the next financial year, which is just stupid. So over 2 years ago now, we started using PI, and literally our process was cut down to a couple of days, and that was setting everything up and getting all of our proposals done for every client we have. And, renewal process now for us is I sit down for a day, go bang, 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 done. I know what the revenue is going to be for the year. You can have a look at general acceptance for who's going to accept and not, who we're going to make go away, etc. But besides the time frame, as in a couple of weeks versus 1 day, and remember this is 2 years ago, so we've grown. It probably would have taken 4 weeks for me to renew people if we were using our old crap system. It literally just is a click of a button for me. But that's not even what really excites me. So I am really an accountant, which means that I'm a data junkie, like probably most of us on here today are. And what the data that I can get out just by looking at a filter to be able to say, well, last year, these people had this, and this. And on average, our clients that have done exceptionally well, we've ended up doing this, and this for, because you can get all that info out easily anyway, means that we're upselling our clients to all these different services that we would never have even thought of before because we just didn't have the data and information. And besides renewals and how easy proposals are and how I can go to the pub because I'm actually on fire with my MRR at the moment. The other exciting thing that I don't think a lot of people realise is you can sit down and do exercises. So for us, we do a little tiny bit of bookkeeping, not a great deal. We've just got 2 awesome bookkeepers in here who pretty much do all of our accounting work, but don't tell anyone. So we've nailed the bookkeeping side of things and become more efficient. So all I did the beginning of this week was sit down and say, okay, who out of our clients does not have a bookkeeping package? I literally just went in, active proposals, who doesn't have a bookkeeping package? And all of a sudden, I've got a list of clients that we can go back to and say, we've got capacity now. Do you want us to do your bookkeeping? Easy done. And it literally, no word of a lie, took me 2 minutes to find all of that data and information.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that to me is a huge selling point, because I feel like at my firm, and it must be at other firms, there's just so much money being left on the table in terms of the services that we could be delivering to the clients. And it's not just money, it's actually needs that they have that we're not fulfilling, right? So it's on both sides, we're losing. So that's really exciting to hear that it was so easy for you.
Yeah, and it's really cool too. I mean, I'm just blown up with ideas here. I mean, I can't wait to see kind of the metrics inside the PI dashboard, because I mean, just think about the possibilities here, knowing that PI can integrate, let's say, with your data like in Xero, and PI can pull in, let's say, your COGS and your operating costs, and PI can say your MRR is at 90% of your expenses, total expenses. Just 10 more percent, and it's these. If you close these 5 engagements in PI, it's going to close that gap, and then from there, it's just gravy all the way. I mean, the possibilities of this kind of integration are just endless, and the kind of data mining that you can do from MRR to what's in the pipeline to what's my current expenses, even all the way to, let's say, milestones. Let's say, hopefully down in V2, V3 of PI, you can say, I want to hire a staff member that costs X, and that's the equivalent of these 5 contracts, and I can have PI, spit out a metric that says, based on this level, it's going to kind of do this and close the gap, and I'll get there in 45 days or something like that if I close these 5 things. I think that's huge. I think it's wonderful.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. I'm just very glad you said V2 and V3 there, just to make sure that people aren't expecting that out of V1.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so Tom put a thing in the chat there, and Steph's comments are exactly right. So filtering is greatly underrated.
Yep.
Blake's comment about the money left on the table, I like to look at it as you've got that many clients that you can help more, and yes, they're going to pay you for it, but the end outcome should be greater for them even. So I just think that, like, as accountants, we need to start running our businesses like businesses. And this platform and what we're trying to build is to try and be that centralized hub. And what we want to do is make that challenge that Steph just talked about even easier, so that, sure, she could build a filter list and has a list of people to contact. We want to make sure that that's all app driven, so you get feasibility, ROI on the campaign, what worked, what didn't, what difference did it have, what is your increase from existing clients versus increase from new clients. Because I had a chat with the other director in the Melbourne office of so Ryan last night about, at the firm that I started, there has got to be an amazing amount of value that we can provide our clients that we still don't do. And it's just because, probably like Steph and you guys and your business has been growing like wildfire, and we don't spend enough time looking at our existing clients, which, is a fault of ours. And, we acknowledge it, we're trying to rectify it, but, for the guys, all the data sits there. We just want to make it so as easy as possible, and even prompt you. So if we know where you want to head, and we know what your locked in revenue is, at least we can help start that conversation by identifying potential places to hit your growth targets. And hopefully what it means is better service for those clients as well as, building up your firm.
Yeah. I would say, as far as the cash flow, so, some of the topics today is as well as the monthly cash flow. So what kind of cash flow features are you going to be rolling out on that version of the metrics on PI? Like, I
wish I could share a screen. I don't know how to do that in here.
Well, I mean, conceptually though, what is the concept that you're trying to promote? That is, I mean, besides what you're currently bringing in cash flow, that is closed clients. Or are you trying to compare closed clients to potential clients in the pipeline?
So we have like 3 sections. So the top line is a hero revenue graph. Thanks, Blake. So no screen sharing yet. Sorry, guys. So the top line is revenue. So because we're in contracts, we are going to be able to tell you what has been done and what is coming. For payments or cash flow, we'll tell you about the adoption of payments and what percentage of your clients pay via the connected part of the app. Right. But we'll also be able to predict your future cash flows based on what's been accepted in contract that has payments. Obviously, data that sits outside PI, we can't forecast because we can't see it. But then the funnel, V1 will probably have potential conversion. So we know what your historical conversion rate is when you use practice ignition. We'll be able to apply that probably to engagements that have been sent, and talk about the average number of closes as well as the dollar value, and give you a likely revenue to be added onto your both in the, should we say, upfront and monthly, so splitting the two. But we probably won't plot that just until we probably fatten up the settings, because some people might go, well, I want to choose the percentage and choose what we plot, which I understand, but we want to make sure that we don't deliver something that skews the data for people. And we're all accountants, let's face it. So we project the revenue. I'm sure you can look at what you have accepted and what we've got in that ideal conversion and add it on top. I'm not saying we don't want to have a crack at doing that. It's more just we want to make sure we get the data right and the flexibility right, because the one thing that I've learned the hard way, as soon as we've built something rigid in PI, the first thing we get asked to do is change it for flexibility, which I understand. Accountants love options and they love scenarios. I get it. And I probably would have asked for the same thing not so long ago. It's just we need to build something that gives a lot of value on day one, and then make sure we build the right things and not sink too much money into wasted R&D.
And for Steph, for yourself, managing metrics, like what are you doing for, let's say, underperforming clients that are, let's say, at the bottom of the bell curve as far as fee-wise, or let's say they're at the bottom of the bell curve fee-wise, and they're the ones that are absorbing a lot of your time or your team's time. What kind of filtering functions are you doing internally to see that kind of behavior happening? That is, they're low dollars, but they're absorbing a lot of your team's time.
So what we do with those clients is sack them straight away. So they get like one warning. And for us, the interesting part is it's not so much the low dollar value, because depending on the size of the client and what they're doing, if they're doing everything we ask them to, right? So if they understand their numbers, if they're getting all of their stuff done on time and we don't have to chase them for anything, then I don't necessarily, we don't just class that as low value. We don't really want to deal with you. Our whole metric is based around whether the client is doing what they're told to do. So you probably get this. I'm really bossy. So Guy will say that. He'll back me up here. So we want to make sure our clients know everything that they need to know. So our whole key metric is if they don't have their accounts reconciled, if they don't have a top-notch bookkeeper who is getting all of their stuff done and they're not interested in their business, so those two things, they're out. I don't necessarily care about their dollar value. It's those two things are key for me.
Right.
Yeah, I found something similar where it's the clients who are just not responsive that are the biggest problem, because you have to spend the same amount of time communicating with them, but you don't get anything back, so you can't resolve any of those open items. And then it's a big mess when they finally do decide to get in touch, and then they say, "Why isn't anything done?"
And they just don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's an issue with expectations. It's something that we try in our engagement letters or our service agreements, I should say, to put right at the top, which is, here's what's expected of you as a client. And this might be something that would be good to include in a template in Practice Ignition is what does the client have to do? Because a lot of clients, unfortunately, seem to think that, if I engage this firm, I don't have to do anything anymore. But that's not true.
The good part about that is PI gives you a full audit trail history of when the client opened it, when they've looked at their conversations and all of that stuff. So for us, it just gives ammunition that we go, okay, well, you've had 2 strikes. You aren't doing what you were supposed to. We'll flick them the proposal and screenshot that page for them and go, we know you were doing this stuff. So 3 strikes and you're out.
So you stalk them is basically what you do.
Having the audit trail when it comes to engagements is so valuable because you don't often need it, but when you do, you really, really, really need it.
Okay. Yeah. Guy, you may have to add a PI SAC button feature in it, so that way, you can actually push this button.
We've got cancel, but it doesn't launch a Dear John letter. That'll be something that'll come a bit later. We have had the request for it. It's literally someone requested for Dear John. If you haven't seen the movie, you may not need to watch it. Basically, it's just like a really sappy, I miss you, but I can't do this anymore. You should see someone else. So kudos to Steph on the cancelling clients. I mean, our firm, we used to run through it every year as well. Yeah. I think the most important thing of sacking a client is to make sure that you've got other firms that who will meet their model, so that you're not just leaving them in the lurch. You hand them on and you go, hey, look, we're after this kind of client. You need this kind of work. Clearly, we're not a match. If I was your accountant, I'd be telling you to find clients that suit your business. Mm-hmm. So I've found you an accountant that works the way that you work. You don't have to change systems. You don't have to do X. They understand it all. They're good at what they do. Go talk to them. And we used to do that a lot. We found in the early days, we had some clients that just wanted an old school accountant who used new school technology, if that makes sense. So loved the whole cloud, but wanted time billing. They wanted charge rates. They wanted all this sort of stuff because that's just what they were comfortable with, and it didn't work for us. So we would introduce them to another accountant and go bye-bye. They're also less responsive as well, to your point. It's sort of like all these things kind of went hand in hand. So we just pushed them off to somebody else with a warm introduction, easy offboarding, easy onboarding on the other side, handover information. And typically speaking, if you do it the right way, they can't leave your firm going, I hate insert firm name here, because you've offboarded them in a manner they're like, wait, what just happened? Wait, it's almost like telling someone no. They typically want you more. Right. But you need to say this isn't right for both of us, and it's a smart business decision. And I'm sure they'll understand that if they're a business person.
Yeah, I think Guy must be really good at breaking up based on that. Clearly knows how to do it.
I'm sorry, Matt. I had to let you down, Blake. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, we are at the 30-minute mark, and the twister keeps just getting worse over here in Southern California. So you can hear it. It's just the wind is just pummeling me. So we probably should call it a day. But we'll see you again next week, Guy.
Yeah, and just really quickly for everyone who's watching, and thank you so much. I would actually encourage you to sign up for PI. So while you can't see screenshots, you can sign up and do a free trial. So if you want to drop in a link for them to sign up, I think you also have an awesome little like a discount code or a coupon code that you can also provide everyone that they can actually get some.
Did that make the cut on last week's sharing of the lab?
It did make the cut. It did make the cut. I can copy paste what I posted on Twitter. If you follow us on Twitter, I'll tweet out the PI special that they have going on, the discount for their free trial. Could give you some support features. I think what was it, 6 months of some support from PI. I also put
10% off for 6 months and a free CSM. So Tom, sorry buddy, who's on, you get to hang out with Tom and he can help you get started. So he's got all kinds of experience from professional services background to help you get on and get happening straight away.
And I just want to point out that Megan did ask a question, and we really wanted somebody to ask a question, so I'm really glad she did. And I was hoping we could answer it before we go. I don't know if you can see that, Will. It's sort of down in the bottom. She said, does your chart of accountants actually separate out MRR and one-time revenue?
I did answer, but I at Megan.
Did I miss that? I apologize.
Yeah, maybe. But so effectively the question was, do you split out MRR and project or one-time revenue? And we do. It's actually the two defining factors on our revenue graph, so that you can actually see it. And then we tell you what's estimated project revenue versus MRR and plot it all. So the idea is that you can actually see your two-speed accounting firm, if that's the right way, or two-factor accounting firm with your MRR and your project work kind of going along, but also what's projected for the future. So really key to actually understanding where your growth is coming from, but also to see where you've come from as well.
Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, for everyone who's joining us, this is a 3-part Blab series. So I did post a link for the third part. If you actually go to blab.in/appshowhq, you can actually sign up for the third week Blab, which is next Thursday here in the United States, Friday there in Australia. And we're going to be covering our last topics with Guy Pearson of Practice Ignition. Feel free to check out their website, practiceignition.com. You can follow them on Twitter at Ignition App. You can also follow us on Twitter at AppShowHQ. See, I got it right this week, so I remembered. I was practicing in the shower. So feel free to check us out. Should be fun. And actually,
some people just fainted, Will.
I know, it's all right. I practice a lot of things in the shower. That's a little too much, I think. I totally lost my train of thought here. Before we go, actually, Blab,
take us out, Will. Take us out.
Take us out. Blab actually lets me do a GIF on Twitter, so I actually want all of us to do something funny while this thing is GIFing, and I'm going to tweet it out. So whatever you guys want to do in the Blab squares, feel free to do it. I'll throw on my glasses, and I'll do this. And so
we got a countdown.
All right, get ready. Yeah, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks so much. See you next week.
All right.
Bye, guys. Bye, Steph.
All right, see ya.
Yeah, thanks, Steph.